want to keep here for our little motion. But notice I'm creating lots and lots of lines in here. That's really what we look for our foundation. If you don't like one side, you can always straighten it out until you have it the way that you want it. But within my rectangle, I'm also going to add in a few construction lines. These lines will help us anchor down the features of his face. So lightly adding in one line right down the middle of the rectangle to divide it here in half. And for our second construction line, not directly in the middle, but a little bit above the middle of the construction line, very lightly sketching out a horizontal line, stretching this out here from right to left on either side. And this is where we're going to place in his eyes. And think of his eyes as you're adding in these egg shapes that are sitting here in this incubator. So I'm just going to lightly sketch out an oval just sitting right on top of our construction line, almost filling that whole entire rectangle space that we added in here on either side here for him. But we want to give him some eyebrows. And to create in his eyebrows, he's got more of a unibrow here for him. I'm going to really want to show how angry he is by arching it here along the inside here of my oval shape. So I'm drawing in this flatter rainbow shape, just curving that right back in towards the center construction line. I even shaved off a little part here of the inside of the oval. And I'll do the same thing here along the right-hand side by just drawing in just this arched rainbow shape. You can also think of it as you're sketching out this stretched out letter V shape, or even looks like a bird flying in the distance. You know, mine. That's a different Pixar film though. But I'm going to start to really create in the rest here of his eyebrow muscle by hopping over here towards the corner here of my box. I'm going to draw in this stretched out letter C, or this stretched out parenthesis. So I'm just rounding out the corner here of the box, because we say more of those sharper points and angles more for our villains. And Anchor is not a villain at all. He's an emotion that we all get from time to time. But it's really how you control your emotions. So I'm just adding in just a stretched out rainbow arch, or you can also think of it as a candy cane. I'll do the same thing over here along the right hand side. So just arching this up and over towards the side here of my rectangle, just rounding those corners out. Well, we can add in his pupils, and for the pupils, you can place them anywhere inside the eyes you want. You can have him as if he's thinking or looking over at your neighbor, a little googly-eyed if you wanted to. Or you can even add in maybe the Triple Dent Gum song got stuck in his head once again. So you can even add that too. But I'm going to have him looking straight ahead here at all of you. But I'm also locking in the rest here of my ovals down here along the bottom, just making sure that they're standing out nice and dark. But I'm going to add in just some small little circles here on the inside for his pupils. However you sketch them into place, you really want to make sure that they're the darkest part of the drawing. It's where all the attention and focus goes to, is right inside those eyes. So I'm going to be making sure that they're standing out nice and dark. He also gets little stress lines here underneath his eyes. So I'm going to add in these little letter U shapes here underneath each of his eyes. We'll start to go back and really lock in the rest of his head. But before I do that, I also want to round out this bottom portion here of my rectangle. I'll even stretch this here along the outside of the rectangle by adding in this stretched out letter U shape here for him. So I'm just pushing this here along the outside. And I'm just going to follow my favorite rectangle line here along either side. Now, this film, Inside Out, was directed by Pete Docter, who right now is the head of Pixar. He also directed a few other films for Pixar, Monsters, Inc., the film Up, and Soul. So those are the films that Pete Docter directed. And he originally came up with this idea of Inside Out back in 2009, really watching his young daughter grow up. She used to be this really super happy-go-lucky kid, but her emotions started to change along with her. And he was thinking, what is going really along inside of her brain? And that's really where Inside Out came. But I'd say we're at about halfway through with our sketch here of our emotion. So how are our drawings turning out so far? Are we having fun? Yeah. That's the most important part about drawing, is really having fun with this here anyway. We're going to add in his tie here and his color. Now to add in his tie, I'll use my center construction line, and underneath the bottom here of his head, I'm going to sketch out a couple of diagonal lines here on either side. And I'm going to connect it here by drawing in just a straight horizontal line here for him. And to add in the rest of the tie, I'll hop over here on either side, adding in a couple more diagonal lines. And I'll add in a couple more that curve right back in towards the center here of my construction line. So this way I have his tie. And he has some tiger stripes here along the inside of the tie. There's really no right or wrong place in where you put them at, or you can also think of it as you're adding in these little shark fins or even little blades of grass here for his tie. Originally, Pete Docter had the idea of having 27 different emotions in the first film. I feel as though that would be way too overwhelming to have all of those 27 different emotions, even trying to figure out who they all are. So we talked to psychologists to help him narrow it down to the 5 emotions that we have in the first film. One being anger, another being joy, sadness, you've got fear, and one of my favorite emotions is disgust. So those are the 5 core emotions that the psychologist said that everyone has. So I just added in these little shark fins here along the inside. But I'm also going to give him his collar here. By adding in his collar, hopping here on either side of the tie, I'm going to draw in these stretched out letter C's, or these parenthesis shapes here for him. And I'm also going to curve it, hopping over here towards the side here of his head. I'll add in a couple of diagonal lines here for him. And I'll connect my stretched out letter C to my diagonal line here on either side by just bringing out this stretched out letter U shape here for him. We want to give Anger his mouth. To add in his mouth to really show how angry he is, I'm going to hop almost down towards the bottom here of my rectangle line. I'm just going to follow that same line just up above by drawing in just a straight line. So right now, he's just giving us this meth face. But I'm going to give him an open mouth. And to open up his mouth, I'll hop over here almost towards the far side here of that rectangle. I'm going to draw in this stretched out letter C, or this parenthesis. So I'm bringing this here underneath his left eye, and I'll curve it right back over towards my construction line by drawing in this half rainbow curve. And then from that, I'm going to give him more of this snarl here to him by drawing in just a flatter rainbow shape over here along the right-hand side. I'm just going to lock this over back into adding in just a stretched out letter C or another parenthesis shape. And to add in his teeth, I'll divide this here right across the center. And to add in his teeth, you want to think of it as you're laying out some bricks here for his teeth, which Anger's design is based off of a brick. All of these emotions are actually based off of very simplistic designs. So for Anger, he is based off of a brick. For Star, she is based off of, sadness is based off of a teardrop. Joy is based off of a star. Fear is based off of a nerve. And then for what does Riley not like to eat? Broccoli. Yeah, broccoli. So she, as discussed, is broccoli shaped. And so that's those like characters. So I'm just adding in his teeth, and I'll lay his bottom teeth by adding in these bricks. So I'm not laying it the same as I did with his top row of teeth. And there's really no right or wrong amount in how many bricks that you lay here for his teeth. He also has got some stress lines here underneath his grin here for him. So I'm going to even add in some more letter U shapes to really give him some more of those stress lines. And since he is even a darker red color, you can also go back and even shade him in just by using the side of the pencil to add in a little bit of extra contrast to your sketch. But you can also go back and lock in, darken up, really any of the lines that have started to fade away throughout our drawing process here for Anchor. Really the last step an artist needs to make though is a signature. And you can sign your name wherever you feel it fits best. And after all done, you have sketched out your very own Anchor. Well, how did we all do? Pretty good? Did we have fun? Good, that's the most important part about drawing, is having fun with this.